Hey everyone, let me get myself situated here. That's not gonna work, is it? It's Susan Black here, and maybe that'll work. Now I'm a little bit too low. We'll get it adjusted. Anyhow, happy Labor Day weekend. How is everybody doing? Anybody have any plans for this weekend? Of course, I've told you before, my husband and I are retired, so every day is a 3-day or a 4-day weekend for us, so no special plans for us. But I have a story to tell you. And when you think about it, we all have a story. Our stories are what makes us who we are. Good or bad, it is who we are. So I wanted to tell you a story that kind of supports my personality. It kind of lets you know why I am who I am. I'm a very independent woman. I'm a very strong woman. I am my own person, and I think once I tell you my story, you'll understand why. So my story actually goes back as far as when I was about age 3 or 4. It's one of my very first memories, and I can remember my parents arguing a lot. I don't remember what they argued about, but I heard a lot of arguing. I don't remember arguing during the daytime, but it happened at night. And I think the way that I learned to cope was to just go to sleep. And I just kind of think about that sometimes when I have issues with coping, I sleep a lot. So that kind of makes sense. But I can remember my parents having a lot of arguments at night, and I think they got pretty heated. And what really sticks out in my mind is being pulled from my bed while I was sleeping as a 3 or 4-year-old during what I considered, I guess, the middle of the night, and being tossed into the back of the car and taken away. Now, I can't give you any more specifics about that because I don't know. I have 2 older brothers at that time too, and so I don't know if my brothers were with me. I just know it from my own perspective. I remember it being me. I don't know where we went, and I don't remember coming home either, but I know we always did. I think it happened quite frequently, but that sticks out in my mind. Now, to this day, my husband and I, we are not the type of people who have strong arguments. I think probably in our 36 years of marriage, maybe we had 2 arguments where we really raised our voices to each other. That's just not who we are. And I wonder if that's a product of, like I said, remember the arguments that my parents had when I was a small child. So kind of fast forward to my teenage years. I was probably I think I was in middle school. We used to call it junior high back then. And I remember coming home from school one day and I heard this loud crashing noise. And I went into the house and I heard it coming from the bathroom. And I went into the bathroom and it was my mother. My mother was sitting in the bathroom taking one wine glass after another and throwing it into the bathtub and just letting it shatter all over the place. Well, that was kind of a frightening thing to see. And so I remember asking my mom what was going on. And she said that a psychiatrist that she was seeing at the time told her that when she got angry or upset, that's how she needed to deal with it. I don't know if it made her feel better. I know it didn't make me feel better. So I kind of slowly backed out of the bathroom and closed the door and left her alone. I didn't want to attempt to stop it or to figure out what was going on because it was kind of a frightening thing. Again, that helped shape me as a person as well. Made me a stronger, independent person because I just learned to pull away and deal with things on my own. We fast forward just a couple of years, and this really left a strong mark in my life. It was Christmas Day, and I think it was probably 1978. I'm not quite sure. I was maybe 13, 14 years old, and Christmas Day, and like how it is typically for families, Mom and Dad hadn't opened their presents yet. All the kids had opened their presents. My dad opened his, and my mom was last. And I remember as a teenager being excited because I knew what my dad had gotten for her. It was something that she wanted. She wanted the set of dishes that were, if you think back to the time in the 70s, brown was very popular. They were brown and they had little tiny white flowers all over them, and they actually had the same pattern in blue at the time. So my mom opened those, and I was so excited for her because I knew that's what she wanted. I don't know the backstory on it. All I know is she opened those dishes. She started yelling at my dad. She started crying. She packed her bags and she left. And that was the point, Christmas Day, like I said, I think it was 1978, that she left my dad with the 4 children. And you think back to the 70s, and that wasn't very common for the husband to have custody of the kids. But my dad stayed with us and my mom moved out on her own. We were teenagers at that point, with the exception of my younger brother, who's 8 years younger than me. And my dad did the best he could raising us, but he couldn't be the mother figure that we needed in our lives too. We pretty much all raised ourselves at that point. And it's no fault of my father's, because he went to work, he tried to keep the house clean, do laundry, cook meals for us, but he couldn't do everything. So we pretty much raised ourselves. So that brings me back to the point. I really think that that's why I'm such a strong, independent person, is because I had to learn to be that. Now, like I said, there's 3 of us that are just a year apart. Then there's my younger brother, who's 8 years later. So the 3 of us that are just a year apart, we were raised in the exact same environment, exact same household with our parents. It's what you do with those experiences that make you who you are. My older brother's very independent as well. My brother that's just below him blamed our parents for the upbringing and for the problems that he still has today. And again, I'm a strong person, so I can't say that we were raised any differently. It's how we responded to those situations that makes us who we are today. So we have a choice. Oftentimes we don't have a choice of the situation that we're put in, but we have a choice in how we're going to respond to that situation. You can rise above it and become a strong person and hold on to those experiences as a learning experience, or you can wallow in your grief and your pain and blame everybody who's out there. But that doesn't solve any problems. So think back to your story. We all have a story. And I think it's important that we share those stories so that we can learn from each other. But also I'm sharing it here on Facebook, not to air any sort of dirty laundry or to talk negatively about my mother. My mother has since passed. That's not, and really, when I think back to it, I really think she had an undiagnosed psychiatric disorder. And I think that if she was under proper care, things probably would have been a little different for her, and maybe she would have been a happier person. But think about what your story is. Think about people you can reach out to and share your story, because we all need each other to help build one another up and just to help us get through the thing that we call life. Because there's very few of us that have an easygoing, pain-free life. So we need to be there for each other. But that's my story. What is your story? So until we meet again, remember to enjoy your journey.